Our expert panelists joining us today are Dr. Richard Palmquist, integrative veterinarian and owner of Centinela Animal Hospital. He's an author, lecturer, and teacher. Dr. Christina Chambreau, internationally known homeopathic veterinarian, lecturer, and teacher. Joan Ranquet, animal communicator, teacher, author, lecturer, and owner of Communication with All Life University. And Brendan Golia, professional pet trainer, behavior expert, and owner of OC Canine Coaching. Welcome to Smart Pet Talk. I'm your host, Anna DeVere. In this special episode, we're excited to be joined by Matt Beisner, founder of the Zen Dog and host of Dog Impossible on the Disney Plus channel. He's also a featured guest on the newly released Netflix special, Inside the Mind of a Dog. Matt is a renowned certified professional dog trainer worldwide with over 15 years of experience working with common, confusing, reactive, and aggressive dog behaviors. His humane approach to dog training is guided by evidence-based positive reinforcement to help humans meet their dog's needs and improve their quality of life as a whole. Matt believes that there is a deepening divide between people and modern-day dogs, and that we have to find a new way to help humans before we lose more of us and our dogs to despair. In response, he's launched the groundbreaking LEAP program, built to lift each animal person. LEAP is the developmental home for helping humans in the human-dog relationship. Matt and his family, including his once impossible dogs, are based in Austin, Texas, but his services are available virtually anywhere. With his live virtual training community, Do Dog Life Differently, Matt can help you understand your dog's behaviors and provide healthy opportunities for change. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's really an honor and a privilege to have you here and to put the two of you together. I know Brendan's got a ton of questions. I'm going to say, take it away, guys.
Well, it's lovely to meet you, Matt. Got to say, I know a lot of trainers and I don't know enough about you, but the more I looked into you over the past couple of days, coming from the show you're on as well, but just looking a little bit deeper and see if I can learn a bit about you. I think we have a lot in common. Just you seem like a guy that I could have a conversation about dogs and really, really enjoy it. And it's unfortunately we don't have that much time today, but I do want to cover some things to get us started. If you could tell us about where you came from and how you got into this. We've both been doing this for about 15 years. Not to hear your story.
And I want to say, I'm surprised we haven't met because Dog World's small, but Southern California Dog World is even smaller, and Humane Dog World
exactly
smaller.
Yeah.
So I was born in Guam. How about I'll start with that? I was born in Guam.
Wow.
And moved around quite a bit in the U.S. And then I loved dogs, grew up around dogs. Dogs for me were a real salve in our home. I describe my family dynamic as like a tire that always had a hole in it, and dogs were kind of a patch, you know?
Yeah.
Got bit by a dog on Halloween when I was young. And I think the details are important in part because all of the adults in the space said the dog's tail was wagging, so it was okay to go ahead and reach for candy. And I did, and then I got bit. And that took me many, many years to recover from, to the point where I would actually cross the street as an adult. I would cross the street when I saw another dog.
Yeah.
So somehow take this huge leap cutting to where I'm at now with my family in Austin, Texas, and just thriving, really thriving in the opportunities and experience of helping dogs that have really challenging behaviors. And I really, at this point anymore, I put reactivity in quotes, I put aggression in quotes. I think a lot of what we're facing is an epidemic of unmet needs and unheard emotion. And I think that is one of the things I appreciated about being invited to join you all here is that your mission, as I hear it and see it in your other podcasts, it's so clear in its vision and purpose. There is an irrefutable, holistic reality for the animal, as well as for the animal's caretaker. And if we, or I'll speak for myself as a dog person, if I don't have the skills or the willingness to address that, then as was said in the intro, and I thank you for the intro, I'm going to lose people and dogs. And I'm not, by any stretch, I'm not anybody's last hope. But I really have to check myself against being a dog person. And I can no longer call myself a dog person if I'm not willing to help people, and I'm not capable of helping people, and I'm not willing to help people that I don't like or don't agree with. So I'm either all in for dogs or I'm not. So that's where I'm at this stage in my growth. And I think the last thing I'll say is my growth has been, it's been challenging. I think back 5 years ago to when we filmed the first season of Dog Impossible and things I wouldn't ever recommend or do at this point. And then to be able to be featured in Inside the Mind of the Dog and the arc of that. And I have safely landed and embraced that I am somebody who is willing to grow in public. And so that allows for me to be accessible and transparent in a way that I think a lot of us dog people and dog trainers don't have the freedom to be. So that's my long intro. Thank you.
That's
I'm
beautiful.
so glad. I'm going to jump in because I know once Brendan's at the wheel, you're gonna steer the ship. And I just want to thank you for telling that story so transparently about being bitten. My 3-year-old daughter at the time was bitten in the face by a family member's dog. She was the third child to be bitten, and fortunately, I wasn't there because I think I would have had a very different reaction. But to our credit, she was never afraid of a dog. And I know that's because in our minds, at least, we didn't lay the blame on that particular dog or think all dogs are like, I'm such an advocate for animals, including dogs, because I think like children, there's a great need to just really understand. It's not just a dog issue. So I'm so excited for you guys to break that down. Every time I've talked to Brendan, he's enlightened me about the people part of this equation. So you guys take it away. That's my last word on dog bites.
I was also bitten as a child a couple times, and that is interesting. It didn't affect me in my relationship with dogs, which is shocking. And when I told my mother I wanted to become a dog trainer, I think 15 years ago, she's like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Am I sure?" She's like, "You got bit in the face, and a couple of times with dogs." And I remember, but I don't think I took it personally, I guess. And at that point, I had a lot of really positive experiences with dogs, and I don't know if I thought of it the way Matt did, but they're always a huge source of comfort for me and animals in general. And so I think we have that same history. But what I hear at Matt talking is that there's a lot of misunderstandings, and the behavior that the dogs are offering us, their communication isn't being respected or isn't being acknowledged at a minimum. And I think that's getting into a lot of problems. I think I know that's a big part of the show, the Netflix series, is to understand the dynamics of dogs, how they think, and how I guess they're able to really communicate in a way with us that we didn't really know. Even to having full-on conversations, it seems like, with these little magic buttons that I won't go too far into because it's complex. But just between you and me, Matt, we probably see a lot of simplistic things, the needs of the pets not being met. And that's something that I've found in the past 5 years. It's funny you say the same thing. I don't know if it's just the evolution of our training or our growth, but I approach everything with much slower. And I really just like to observe the dog and listen to the people. And the solutions seem to be a lot simpler than what they're asking. It probably resonates with their whole family. As I look around and I see them, maybe the same people on their iPhones, or they're really not paying attention. They're not listening. The enrichment really isn't there for the family. And so I kind of see this mirroring back and forth. But I'm here for the dog. And so I have to address these people in a way that's, again, non-judgmental and tell them, here's something we can change. And to your credit, like you said, I think a lot of stuff happens when we start to bring back what the dogs are missing holistically.
Yeah.
And not just treat the issues that owners think they have, because they're probably a little misled. These are symptoms of of other things that are more consequential. So maybe you could speak to that, what your experience is with that.
Yeah. Thanks, Brendan. It's I got a chance. So one of my friends, one of the people I love in the industry, is Dr. Chris Pockley. He's a veterinary behaviorist based up in Portland.
I know him well. Been to plenty of his seminars.
Okay. Oh, super. Okay. Yeah. I remember the first time I ever spoke with Chris on the phone. we were just kind of feeling each other out because I was still in that awkward transitionary phase. I know you. I'm not really sure, from his perspective, I'm not really sure I like your work, but you're here. I respect that. You want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the many things that Chris has taught me is coaching to principle. So if I leave this session and there is one thing that the humans are left with, is that something that they can work with? So if my principle for a good while now has been, I'm just going to help take the pressure off. I'm going to help take the pressure off everybody in the home, because we all know that pressure leads to stress, and stress leads to all kinds of other things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot simpler for me now too, and I think part of that is my craft has just developed, my nuance, my willingness to be patient. I think I get more buy-in from people maybe than other people who aren't as visible as you and I. So by the time you call me, you think you're willing for it to be weird when I show up at your house and I don't say anything and I just watch your dog and I ask you what kind of movies you like, because I've just, that's outside of the realm of the normal approach. But what I'm doing is buying myself and the dog time. I'm buying the dog time to communicate with me.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a resource guarding case last year, 5-year-old doodle mix, anxiety, pretty textbook for what we're seeing nowadays. And in the 5th day of me getting to work with this wonderful family that was really open and curious, we started to notice, I noticed that there was a twitch in the right nostril about a minute or two before the aggressive behavior would happen.
Mm.
But that's an observation I wouldn't have had. Now, granted, I was doing other things. I love free shaping and capturing because I really like the experience of focusing on what I do want. That's a much better way to look at life.
Right.
Yeah.
I've surrendered enough of my ego that actually lands for me, as opposed to I'm just going to control and fix everything and blah, 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 not good for anybody's health. So taking the pressure off, affording the animal the opportunity to express to me how it feels or what it thinks, giving me a chance to develop the beginnings of some body language vocabulary for this individual dog. Yes, there are a lot of similarities, but each dog's its own being. And then the other thing that I really like in that easy, early on easy approach is that the people begin to see things that they didn't see before. And this is a
So
sensitive, because the reality of I want to say reconciliation, but I might be getting ahead of myself. The reality of recognition, that it also comes with the pain of what we failed to see.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so reflection, like legitimate discernment and humble reflection, that's not for the faint of heart, and that's not something to do alone. I can't use my own mind to fix my own mind, so to speak. So I recognize too, having been through it, oh my God, what have I done? I can't believe this. How do I amend the years I was wrong about this? I recognize that both as a dog parent and a dog trainer, and that is something that I build into people's experience, allowing for that in their experience when I'm in their home or in a group class. Fortunately, because I know I'm not in a position to judge, because my work is, it's not been hidden. I lean into that, and so people feel a lot less likely. Tell me they feel a lot less likely to be judged when we're working. So maybe too long, but how do I take the pressure off? What can I free shape and capture, i.e. focus on what I do want? How can I help the family get a buy-in so that they begin to observe changes that give them some contextual understanding for what's happening? That's usually my go-to. In fact, after our call, I'm going to meet with a bull terrier mix who's stubborn.
Yeah. The word people use a lot, right?
You could have just said bull terrier mix.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I listened to a podcast that you did with Kim Brophy about 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Just the last thing I listened to before this conversation, and I think it's a good thing for people to listen to. Just a little side note: if you want to look for some good conversation, Kim Brophy's another amazing trainer and behavior consultant, and they go through a lot of that stuff that's really not just typical dog training. That we could have the same conversation, but it's already there. It's wonderful, and something I gleaned from that conversation, it kind of what you talked about is when you come in, you're allowing the dog to communicate, and you're not coming in like a dog trainer. I think dog trainers can come in and our motives, like you may have mentioned, are very clear that we're up to something. We could go through repertoires. We could go into dog trainer speak and try to show the dog we were dog trainers, to show the client we're a dog trainer and that we have something to offer. But the dog starts to behave like it's been trained at that point and probably doesn't offer its full perspective or what it wants to communicate with you, because it feels like you're like something that came before. And so I heard something. You didn't say the word choice, but the word choice seems to be in there, and that seems to be trending. Thank God, because I don't know how to say it without learning how to start to introduce this kind of conversation with dogs. I don't think I'd be as successful as I am, and it started with people much smarter than I am. A great trainer in the LA area, Arit Bloom, kind of really introduced this to me, and we've been in the kind of a similar organization for many years, probably a decade at this point. And she's taught me quite a bit. Amazing woman. But offering a dog or anybody the freedom to express themselves tells us a little bit more about the dog. And we can usually find ways to have a better relationship. That's different. And that can quickly, as soon as it happens, whenever it happens, and it's up to the dog, it seems to make things move fast. Yeah. And it blows people away, I think, that it doesn't look like anything happened. Yeah. And I think that's real dog whispering. That, again, it's not a word that I came up with. Yeah. It's just, I don't know what happened, but my dog isn't acting the same way. Yeah. And then it likes you all of a sudden. It's weird. And people cry sometimes. And and so they may feel guilty about what they thought or they put their dogs through. But it's a nice moment to show them that, look, this is just a pressure release. Yeah. And your dog wanted to communicate with me. Yeah. You see that too, I'm guessing. Oh my gosh. That makes me cry. I feel goosebumps around. It is one of the most privileged moments as a dog trainer. I mean, so if I put myself in the dog's body and I live in a world where I hear dogs don't talk, and I live in a world where I hear that I have to be dominated, and I live in a world where I am constantly reminded of what I should not do, but I don't even have freedom to go out in the backyard without somebody thinking about it. In that world, the experience, that moment of, oh, you can hear me? Yeah. Oh. That's what makes me cry. That experience of being heard and feeling felt. That is why the buy-in, that's kind of a lame marketing term to use, but that's where where the connection evolves into relationship. Mm-hmm. Thank God, or whatever you believe in, that somebody can hear me. I've been here for 12 weeks, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 years. Yeah. I'm on all these meds and I'm on all these protocols, but nobody really ever asked me how I feel. Mm-hmm. And what I think, and that's why it happens, and it seems magical, and it seems like nothing's happening. And at this point, I would imagine it's no different for you. When one arrives, I am confident. I can't explain that phenomenon, including the phenomenon of generalization, where we didn't work on you going to the vet, but you've become so much more secure in yourself that you go to the vet, that the vet tells me that they didn't recognize the dog. I've been kinds of scenarios so many times. That I walk in confidently knowing that that's the level at which this dog will need me to communicate, and that I will be able to communicate. And that is a powerful place to operate from. It's really reinforcing to stay on that track. And I haven't always been this trainer today, like you haven't as well. And you're honest and you're open and you've been documented in your change. And going back to look at the show, I don't know you from the show, to be honest, the Disney show. Yeah. And I look back and that doesn't seem like the Matt that I thought I would, there's some stuff that I'm like, you know what, I'll let it slide. It's and that's how I am today more and more. I don't like the judgment and the isolation that's in our industry, which we don't need to talk about too much, but it is a big deal. There's not a lot of good conversation, although there's starting to be, it seems like. But I think being open, and I've been really open with myself, And that started 10 years. I made a big change 10 years ago, and I had never publicly said this, but since you're on the show, and I know you have, I got sober 10 years ago.
I knew it.
And like last weekend was my 10th year anniversary.
Oh, bless you.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
But that really allowed me to change, like quick. Like everything changed massively, and it didn't change overnight, but it allowed me to grow quickly, to be more empathetic and understanding, and realize there's a lot more to learn, at least, because I learned a lot myself. And so that's really helped me at least maintain enough compassion and patience and empathy that I learned from helping myself, because it's not too much different, really. These are behavior issues we have with ourselves, and there are neurological issues, and there are environmental issues, and there are biological issues, and there are social issues. And if you understand how they work really well, and we take ownership, then we can really seem to apply it. And I'm sure that has a big impact on where you are today. I can just sense it, like you said.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. One sober person, and I understand the power of. I have experienced the power of sharing that publicly, so I feel privileged to be here. When you share it at that level. I think that we have a unique advantage as a sidebar, and when I think a lot about the people who get to coach and train and support. I wake up every day having a plan to participate in life, because the alternative is that I will disappear and die. That is the alternative. Mm-hmm. So I actually believe I have a unique and distinct advantage, and as part of me, choosing to participate in life every day, that means that I take calls from people who are suffering, and I talk to people about any challenges I might face, and I don't try to do things alone. So I arrive at this stage in the dog world, like I'm talking to people every day who are trying not to die. So the stakes are high every day. So I don't emails in all caps with exclamation points. I got it. I recognize for myself that when I'm talking with people on a daily basis who are looking at a life-threatening situation, one of the things that's consistent, true for dogs and dog people in the dog industry, is the sense of isolation.
Yeah.
And I would offer as a sidebar to anybody that happens to be watching right now, because I don't think there are any accidents in things and what inspires us in the world, that if you think you have a drinking problem, that it may well be that you have a life problem, that living is really hard and drinking's become the solution. And so practicing difficult conversations has been necessary to my ability to stay alive. And that puts me in a position that I now relish in working in the dog world, because I learned those skills and I didn't have them. I learned those skills and then I get to talk with people, or I get to let people feel heard about things that they don't know how to talk about. That's also an extraordinary privilege and opportunity in terms of moving forward the understanding about who dogs are and the human-dog relationship and all of that. So that, like, all that's in my back pocket when I walk in to meet the quote stubborn bull terrier this afternoon. And my client doesn't know any of it, but those are the principles. I think that's the other thing that I hear in what you're saying, Brendan, is that we have aligned ourselves with a set of principles that afford us this rich opportunity of life, and those principles are the same principles by which we treat dogs and their people.
I'm just amazed at this conversation. If I can interject here, that you're both making me tear up a lot. And it's that I think instinctively, just like I didn't overreact to my daughter being bit, I have an ex who has a drinking problem, and he's more or less working through it. And he has adopted 2 dogs, which we somehow ended up co-parenting. And I'm tearful because I just watched them last weekend, and he has a dog, what you would say, impossible. So we were in the dog park, and she's quite young. She's an Australian Shepherd. I don't think she should be dwelling in an apartment with him. And he has a very different philosophy. But you're both reminding me, like, this is an opening for understanding human behavior and being gentle, because just like I don't trash talk my ex, I don't look at his dog like an isolated. It's a beautiful connection for us. So while this dog took off, yanked my arm off, I didn't turn around and yell at her. I recognized somehow I didn't meet a need. I wasn't taking her into account. I was taking everybody else into account, and she just saw something and took off.
Sure.
But I know that because she's highly intelligent and I didn't react with her. She looked me in the eye and said, I think you're hurt. I'm going to stop being a dummy right now. She just, I didn't overreact, but you're both reminding me of this very real human animal connection. That's a place for growth. So thank you both for being really open about this conversation.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, I think that's, to look at that, the way you just said there was pretty brilliant, actually. You didn't react. So you didn't let your emotions get the best of you. You didn't judge her. You didn't assume anything. And maybe we take a breath and realize that everything that we're doing now is just the environment, the biology, our history, our genetics. It's just a big package, and we're almost going to do it anyway. And we need to know what makes the behaviors or not likely, and how we can affect those by, for instance, taking too many things away from somebody, limiting somebody too much for too long, like the Australian Shepherd in the apartment that doesn't get what it's bred to do. It doesn't get to chase, it doesn't get to run or stretch. It doesn't have a lot of enrichment. Maybe the consequences for being misunderstood are more severe than it should receive. And when it gets out in the park, it is just gonna go because it needed it so bad. And it didn't mean to hurt you or pull you down, but it was just how that dog's biology and that environment and I'd say the deficit of stimulation or enrichment, it led to that. And so that's how I more and more these days try to look at it. The situation is what really is happening here. The dog is not intentionally trying to scare everybody away. It doesn't feel good about something. You can look at it so many ways. There's so much discomfort and pain that our dogs experience and don't communicate, or they do communicate in some ways that we just don't understand. And we're talking about this early in the conversation, and the pain is a game changer. Being uncomfortable too long really changes neurobiology, and we just miss that. Some of us understand that and some of us won't and don't have it. It's a lot. But I think these are the nuances of behavior, and we can't just look at them through a lens of I don't want that behavior and that's not good for me and I want that, and let's quickly fix this. Quick is usually pretty bad in my opinion. I mean, to what you're saying, I have a similar situation, not to go over it too much, but a client that I met last week, and they have a 7 or 8 year old boxer that they can't take anywhere. They can't take it outside. Everybody knows them. The dog's aggressive. It looks like to everybody. It's hard to control. In one visit, I didn't see this coming, but in one visit, somehow the dog liked me. It 90% reduction in some of the behaviors. And then I left because we're going to do a lot more follow-ups. And I get the phone call the next day, 80% less still. Like, wow, that quickly. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, but for this dog, it just needed to know that we're going to stop a few things and add a few things. And sometimes that magic happens and we're moving very quickly to the next step. They're able to walk the dog all of a sudden. It's a beautiful thing. I love the dog, and I never got to see, believe it or not, I never got to see the alpha behavior. It never happened. We just didn't let it happen. So it doesn't take somebody coming into a house with an agenda or tools. I would encourage more people to find someone like yourself or somebody that can sit with the owner, explain what's really going on like this, and get that buy-in that we don't have to be so powerful or controlling to our dogs.
Agreed. I want to put a quick plug in. One of the things that reflecting is my what's the word I want to say? As my profile continues to grow and my business continues to evolve, and I'm thinking about the next 20 years. What do I want to leave that's helpful? I don't have a sense that I'm going to be dead at any point soon, but I really want to look at this and think about legacy work. And I tend to work things backwards, which is easier for my mind. And so as I've been thinking about how to reframe what I do as a business and what to offer and all of that, I would love, this would be for two things. So one, for anybody that's listening, we built back in the spirit of daily check-ins and recovery that I come from. We built back into our business 20-minute courtesy consults. You want to talk to me? I don't care. I literally am okay if you don't book a session. I'm okay. But if you just want to talk to me for 20 minutes, you want to get some feedback, you want to get some context,
Mm-hmm.
you want to hear about how I can help, I'm happy to do that. And I'm really glad that we went back to that, because I followed some well-intentioned but ill-advised direction to create it, to make it more difficult to get access to me, because that's what people who have done or who are at your level should do. And it was garbage, actually. Like, I didn't feel good about it. I went with it because I went with somebody who knew better than me, but they didn't know me and they didn't know the nature of the relationships that I need to have. And so that's open to anybody that's listening. The other thing is, if there's anybody, like I failed biology in high school, for the record, so we're all clear. I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah.
But if I could have somebody, what you're talking about, Brendan, what you're talking about, and the kinds of experiences that we're privileged to have, I would love somebody who has enough flexibility in their curious scientific mind to try to get data on that, and because it happens, it's not happening. It's happening so much that it's fairly predictable. And there's something that's happening in that dog's system.
Yeah.
That not supposed to be possible, that's happening. And
How do you measure that?
How do you measure it? I don't know how you measure it, but that would be some kick-ass data.
Right. I would love to see more of that. People talk more about that. Film it. I mean, you've done very well. It's hard to do what I do, or I think it might be. I don't know. I've never had anybody film me or make a show out of this, but I see a lot of TV shows, and people like sensational stuff.
Yeah.
Go figure. I do too.
Yeah.
But my work is slowly sensational. Like, it might not be it. There's millions of moments of brilliance, but the process is not that sexy.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
And so I think people need to realize that's what dog training can be. And when it is that way, it's almost always better for the dog,
And faster. I mean, you spoke to that earlier. I'm going to give you, because I like to be quippy, it's slow-sational.
Slow-sational. I like that. Thanks.
There's no doubt around it. Like, if I'm willing to go slow, we can go faster, further. Hands down. It's not an issue. That's the other weird thing about the kid who got bit, who now does high risk behavior work. Like, nobody can tell me that I need X, Y, and Z to change this. It's not mine to change. It's mine to support the dog. It's my privilege to support the dog and the dog's people, and then let's see how that dog can change it.
Yeah. Do you find that is there any thrill seeking in this for you at all, in the back of your mind, or are you past that?
No, it's so. Again,
just being in the presence of a dog who might be dangerous, does that give you any kind of a feeling?
It's a great question. So it doesn't give me the rush that it used to. It took me a few years before I told my wife, do you know why I call or text you before each session to tell you I love you? Because I'm not sure that I'm going to come out of this safe.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But that was because I wasn't safe. Was I helpful? Arguably to an extent, but like long game, no. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I'm doing differently. So I don't get the same thrill. I think I have a respect. I have an appropriate. I have a good sense of humor, thankfully.
Good. Yeah.
Like when I did a session recently, and I said to the family, "Okay, great. I think from our phone consult, it sounds like you have some a 3-year-old retriever who is really frustrated, who was a COVID puppy, who's not had access, and has a probably a pretty powerfully insecure attachment with you. So there's likely going to be an escalation of resource guarding behavior, or something along those lines.
When things change.
Big change. So when I meet you, let's leave the dogs upstairs. Sure, sounds good. I pull up. I'm talking. I hear that
chaos.
Oh no! Dogs come running down. I know enough to jump behind a fence and just go into a quick treat and retreat. Okay, let's take take 2 on this. So I have a healthy sense of humor and respect for what I'm going into. And even with this dog today, with this bull terrier, who apparently is not comfortable with anybody in the home, what I will do is I'll meet with the human out front first, ideally out of eyesight and earshot of the dog. And then if the dog can comfortably be secure somewhere in the house without having direct access to me, then I will walk in without saying anything, put my scent around a little bit by virtue of me walking around the shared space. I'll drop some, I'll leave. And then I will ask her to film how that dog's responding to the presence of an unknown scent. And then 3 or 4 times, and what I'm looking for is a change in the behavior, in the relaxation in the body. The tail's looser, the dog's taking the treats with more ease. Now I know that the presence of this person predicts that maybe something good is going to happen. Now we can work with something else. So that's the level of respect that I've learned to build in. But I there was so much thrill seeking in it, and there's nothing like being there for the miracle, even if the miracle could have happened if I wasn't in the way, you know.
Right.
And the problem solving. I came to realize in the last few years, I love solving problems. My wife wishes I would turn that off. But I love solving problems. And I came to recognize that I actually created a lot of problems so that I could solve them.
Here. I think that's what keeps me going too. It's the problem solving nature of the business, that there's never going to be a dull moment. You never know everything. There's no possible way. And I definitely started getting in the way of things. My solutions didn't always, they didn't always get me all the way or get far enough. They were limiting. And so, it's definitely taken a while to get to where I want to go. And surely in 5 or 10, 20 more years, I'll be a different dog trainer again. I don't have to speak to this much if you don't want to, but is there anything that you would recommend to dog parents, dog owners, when they're looking for help? Maybe what to do or what not to do? I mean, this could be a loaded topic, so you don't have to really go into it if you don't want to.
I will. Is there more to your question, Brendan?
Just maybe to save people some stress, to some confusion, and maybe some clarity to help them understand from your perspective, somebody who's very successful, who's somebody that listened to where you're coming from, and I think they can relate to you. What would you not do, and be very careful to do when hiring somebody or when having somebody work with your animal?
That's a great way to work it backwards. So what I would not do, knowing what I know now, if somebody asked me out of the blue, hey, Matt, what should I not do when I'm hiring a trainer? Okay. The first thing I will tell you is do not believe that your dog trainer that you're hiring knows your dog better than you do.
That's good. Thank you.
You know your dog better than you do. You may not understand what you know. You may not know what you know. You may not know how to know it, but I can help you with that. Somebody can help you with that. But anybody that tells you that they have the answer, that you don't know your dog, and that there is a way, frankly, should shove it and put it in a pickle jar, or like, come meet me, come meet me. All these trainers who tell me it can't be done through kindness and without force, I went through it and I'm doing it now. So that's all nonsense. But the thing is that you know your dog better than anybody. We got to put power back in these people's experience. We need to empower these people, because we have to give them, we have to support their agency, because they're going to have to make the choices when they're gone, when we're gone, or when we leave their house. The second thing, and I've thought about this a lot lately, so I'm really stoked about the question. And that is, if you want to know who your dog trainer is, don't just follow them in social media. Follow their comments and watch how they talk to and about people. You want to know somebody's character? Watch how they talk to and about people. The people that have the way have an inability to actually have conversation, because they're so committed to the way. It's so ego-centered. The devotees and the followers and the cult-like followers of the people that have the way, they don't have the ability to have a conversation or answer questions. If you follow me, because I've just, had what I now consider the good fortune of making a public mess of things and then, amending it. Side note, if anybody is stuck with your dog, if all we do is help you repair, you're on your way. That's how I've learned kids. I didn't feel equipped for the most important job ever, but I know how to repair because that's what my recovery is built. So yeah, if you get a sense of who this potential dog trainer is, and then I'll state the obvious, look for somebody with certifications. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good fit for you, but it does mean that they're willing to have a level of education and accountability that anybody who was a hack like I was, who got their cards made on Vistaprint, who just saw something that copied something they saw on TV. Those would be my
sounds like we started off a little the same way.
Yeah,
I was uncertified for many years, and I think a lot of it was confusion over which way to go. But at some point in the past couple of years, I was like, this has to be done. No longer do I feel like I can talk the way I want to talk because I look like everybody right now, and we have to. I think there's a good reason to differentiate. Yeah, and looking into the comments and how people interact with people is a big tell. It takes a little bit of work and history and some savvy to go through that kind of stuff. But like you said, I mean, I think that's another big change I've made this past year or two. Thankfully, with the help of a couple of other trainers who have helping me along the way, because my history is, I think a lot of people on social media, you act differently. And you get in these camps and you start to act ungenuine. I look at the way people behave as almost like barrier aggression, because we act when there's this layer in front of us. We get to act in the worst ways with little consequences, and it's almost predictable. And then that person shows up in front of you, and you just don't speak the same way. It's just not right. It doesn't come out that way. So. No, it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Brendan. I'll cut you off.
I'm just saying that I've learned to not to interact and be more appreciative of people's perspectives, regardless, so that we can maintain a dialogue. Another, and the bigger picture is because we're all going to we all may want to change someday, like you did, like I did, like other trainers who just haven't gotten there yet. They may feel like they can't communicate with you or myself, because they're going to feel judged. And I'm just past that. I have finally passed that. And I want to have difficult conversations with people who I don't agree with, because I feel like we need to find out if we're all in the same boat. And I want to get to benefit the people and the dogs, because that's the only way I think we're going to get there.
Yeah. Anna.
You both really enlightened me about what to look for as a dog person, as a person that hopes to, advocate for my ex's dogs, for the dogs I have in the future. I know I had a Chihuahua, and, coming again from the dog bite incident with my daughter, I realized something. This little being just does not want to be made to feel small in the world. So absolutely zero tolerance on my part for any aggression from children. Anybody that tried to make her feel small, they were out like instantly. And that dog was tuned into me. She knew I understood her. So you've both given me just a glimpse into your world. Thank you. I know we have short amount of time. I do want to ask this question because it came up in the Netflix special. And you were so eloquent there. And I think everybody else got to deal with these training programs, but you're actually talking about practical, real body language in the dogs. And even I heard you say today, like, talk to me about tail behavior. Because if I'm in the dog park and I'm just trying to keep my dog safe, what can I look for in other people's dogs as far as body language?
Thanks for asking. So if I keep it really simple, which is usually good for everybody, myself included, what does tension look like and what does ease look like in the body? That's pretty simple. If the dog's tight in the backside, if the tail is tight, if you look at the tip of the tail coming off the butt and there's a knot there, if the ears are stiff, if the eyes are hard, if the body is forward, there's a number. Even if the nature of the play is such that one has that little extra. For anybody who's listening who has siblings, I happen to be the oldest of 10 half and stepbrothers, sisters. So,
wow.
I know the difference between we're wrestling and you're pissed because mom didn't let you take the car, but we're still wrestling and it looks like wrestling. So generally speaking, tension or ease is a really simple way for me to frame it. That is a good starting point with the tail. The tail is fascinating. It's another area where I feel like I'm so far behind, but as talked about in the documentary,
The biases.
The biases. And when the tail wags to the right, it's an indication that the dog is seeing. There's now, I read something recently, and I apologize to the viewers, I don't have the study available, but the dog's tail, when a dog's tail wags to the right, it's an indication that this dog is seeing somebody that they feel good about. There's new information that suggests also seeing another dog that it feels good about.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, no, that's actually something I was in a class this last year, and that was actually brought up. I don't remember the study itself. I think we're probably talking about the same one. And they showed that that if the dogs don't see a tail, they do lose some perspective on this. In as much as like the dog's just not faced, they can't see the direction of it. They're getting limited information, and so they might act differently, especially if they haven't experienced that yet.
Interesting.
Which makes me think of all the conversations that French bulldogs and pugs and dog tails and so have. And does that limit a dog who's only experienced dogs that have that kind of ability?
Take it even further. Then, because these dogs with compromised breathing ability, the smash face dog, because they have to get closer because the smell is not as strong. So imagine that you're meeting a dog that is a pug or a Frenchie. They don't have a tail that you can read, and they want to get in your face to smell what you had for breakfast.
Seems like every Frenchie.
Right.
Yeah.
Really amped. You don't self-regulate well, and then it really sets the dog that's meeting the Frenchie up for a lot of challenges.
I think so.
Well, with that being a popular breed, this is a really timely conversation. Unfortunately, we're out of time, guys. Matt, I just want to thank you so much. And Brendan, thank you, both of you, for being so transparent. What an amazing show. Matt, how can we find out more about you and let our audience into your wonderful resources?
Yeah, thank you. This is so awesome to be in this conversation. Thank you again for having me. Anybody find me at the zendog.com. I'm not hard to find. And so anybody that has something to say, come say it to me. Don't be that person. The zendog.com. I'm pretty active. Instagram, Matt Beisner on Instagram. We can include the links, and Facebook as well. I also want to put a plug in for something that is timely and apropos from our conversation. I started, speaking of Kim Brophy, I got the privilege of speaking at her conference, her inaugural LEGS conference in 2022. And at that conference, the idea was immediately presented to me and by another attendee. We began to build something that is now known as the Dog People Evolution movement. And there's a conference that I am co-founding that is going to be held in late May, early June of next year. We have approximately 36 virtual speakers. We've got 8 to 10 live speakers lined up. The live speakers are going to be in Sweden. And the conference is about supporting human change in the human dog world. So the Dog People Evolution mission is to express and activate and initiate support of humans that have dogs who are struggling. So it's a judgment place where we can really just talk about change. It'll be the first conference of its time with all these of its kind, and its time with all these dog trainers that are not there to talk about dog training, but to talk about how they have changed and how they can support others who are changing. So that's where
sounds enlightening. Amazing.
I know Brendan would want to be part of it. I feel like, guys, this conversation is a real germ for that. And if you've loved what you've heard today, please be a part of following up. Certainly go to zendog.com, and also you can answer or ask questions here on Smart Pet Talk TV. Guys, thank you so much for helping us raise our animal IQ.
Awesome.
Thanks. Thank you, Matt.
It's a pleasure to meet you this way here.
You too.
Thank you.
Always. Yeah.
You guys remind me of a quote: money can buy you a fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail. We hope you'll join us again soon. Yeah. Until then, please love your pets. Medical information obtained from our website or the live show is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. If your pet has, or you suspect they might have, an illness or other medical condition, you should consult a healthcare provider. The opinions expressed on this TV program are not necessarily those of Smart Pet Talk, this TV show, or their sponsors. For all questions or info on sponsorship, email us at info@smartpettalk.com or visit our website at smartpettalk.com.